transitioning from a full-time employee to a full-time real estate investor is not as easy as it seems. There's a transition that needs to be taken first in here, in tu cabeza, your head, right? Prior to making it a reality. And what I want to do today in this video is just share with you a few mindset shifts to take you from where you currently are, let's say a 9-to-5er, to where you want to be, perhaps a 5-to-9er, right? From working 8 hours a day to maybe 4 hours a week. So let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, so let me share with you a little bit about my story that I actually have written in here, Quit Your Day Job, but I'll share with you here and now on this video. When I was working at my 9-to-5, working for the government, as an employee, I can recall myself thinking a tad bit differently as I did as an investor. You might be thinking, well, sure, I can kind of see that. But let me share with you in greater detail and also give you some tips of how you can make this transition as well. Because if you truly want to be a full-time real estate investor, a business person, entrepreneur, you cannot take that same mindset and bring it over into this new arena. It's totally different. It's sort of like wearing a different hat. You know, you might have a baseball cap if you're used to playing baseball and then saying, I want to be a race car driver. No, you need a different type of equipment for your head to protect yourself because it doesn't translate. It does not. And let me share with you some examples, especially from my standpoint. So one of the things that I really had to change my mindset was this: guarantees, okay? When I hear the word guarantee, I associate that word with safety. I also associate that word with security. Now, we're human. Everyone wants safety and security, correct? Especially when it comes to their income, because you want to have predictability, because every single month you have predictability financially, which are called bills. Every month, you know, predictably, I got to pay X amount for my water bill, Y amount for my Wi-Fi internet bill, Z amount for my phone bill, for my mortgage, for my condo, for my note, for my car note, to my student loans. I feel like I'm rapping. You notice you have these bills that are somewhat fixed and variable on a consistent basis. And so you want your income to be guaranteed, secure, stabilized, safe on a consistent basis. But if you try to bring that mindset and that desire that you want over to real estate investing, it's quite different. Sure, having rental properties can provide you with passive income, which is income received on a consistent basis with little to no work required. But as you're becoming a real estate investor, you cannot expect guarantees because there's no guarantee that the tenant will actually pay rent. So what you want to do instead is have contingencies in place. So for instance, if a tenant is late or delinquent on paying rent, you want to make sure, by working with the proper professional, CYA, consult your attorney, you want to make sure that you have proper contingencies in place in your lease, which is a contract between you and the tenant, to protect against that. Also, you want to make sure that you have reserves in place from the property, meaning every dollar of rent you receive, you just don't put in your pocket and eat off of it, right? You need to take a percentage of that away and put into reserves for vacancies, because sometimes tenants will not pay. And also set money aside for other reserves, such as maintenance, because sometimes properties need to be fixed up. You have to do these things. And not only that, you also want to make sure that you can, outside of just using reserves, you also want to consider other things, such as in the lease, that, okay, well, I'm gonna penalize this tenant if they don't honor what they said in the lease. Have to take them to court, have to evict them, this is the process and so forth. And while you're evicting them, okay, maybe I can get another tenant lined up. So in other words, when you have one issue that happens that throws a monkey wrench in your income, you gotta have multiple contingency plans in place. And that's extremely important, because if you think about it, right? Most people say, well, investing is risky and there's no guarantee, this and that. Well, neither is working at your 9-to-5, because your employer can just several times with you immediately, right? And depending on where you live and your area, at times, I think in Georgia, it's called at will, meaning an employer can terminate a person at will. They don't have to follow a particular process. They can just cut you loose, you out of there. And if you don't have contingency plans in place yourself, then you're in a whole heap of trouble. Okay, so the mindset is somewhat similar. We all, from a human standpoint, want guarantees, but the mindset shift you need to make is that you need to have contingencies in place just in case your income isn't as secure as you thought it would be. The other thing I want to talk about is risk. Oftentimes, a person who's been an employee virtually their whole life, they may not embrace the word risk. They want their risk to be eliminated or virtually minimized, okay? Hence the reason why they want to work for another company in which that founder, right, has taken upon the risk all by him or herself or with their partners or whatever. But they took the risk, they built out a system, built out a plan or what have you to have you implement it. So they bore the risk and they're reaping all the rewards because every hour that you're working for this particular company, you're making that founder richer and richer at a multiple, right? Because I have team members too. And when I hire someone, I want to make sure they give me a multiple of 4, which means if I have to pay this person $10,000 a month, I want them to bring into the company at least $40,000 a month. Because if I pay that person what they're truly worth, it's not a reward. There's no return for me in that instance, okay? And so I'm willing to take the risk in order to get the reward, all right? So you have to have a different mindset in regard to risk. The risk you should entertain is this. There's risk everywhere. We all want risk to be minimized, but this is the mindset shift that business people, entrepreneurs, and real estate investors have. And I'll explain it this way through analogy. When you're walking across the street, there's risks that you could potentially suffer harm, right? A car can come by and bam, game over, okay? But what helps minimize that risk is that there's a crosswalk. There's also a walking man, whatever that thing is called, where it bleeps when it's time to walk, or it'll have like a stop sign or whatever when it's not time to walk. And there might be lights. There's pretty much there's standard operating procedures in place in which all parties involved, whether it's you, the pedestrian, or the car driver, what have you, if everyone is doing their part and following the SOPs and studied the manual of how to drive, and they're driving legally, meaning they have a license, then that minimizes the risk. If there's an SOP in place and all team members involved are executing the SOPs. So likewise, when it comes to investing in real estate, and there is risk with investing in any asset class, in any industry, it doesn't matter. But as long as you have a proven system to follow and to execute, it minimizes your risk of failure, okay? Now here's the other mindset shift, which leads to my next point, failure. Oftentimes, people who are employees, they abhor failure. They're terrified. Why? Maybe because in the school system, you got your test back and you see all these red markings. Oh no, I feel so bad. Oh man, I failed this test. This is the end of the world. No, it's not. Employees tend to think that failure is a bad thing. But real estate investors, entrepreneurs, they take it as a learning lesson and they actually welcome it. They realize, oh, okay, if this failure never happened, I would have never developed this process, this system, this other business, this other product. I would have restructured the way I invest if this negative thing never happened. So I'm actually glad that we failed in this instance because it taught me a new lesson. It showed me how to make things better. It provided me with insight on how to do things differently, which yielded better results. So don't be afraid of failure. In fact, appreciate it because it'll help you get to the next level. The other thing I would like to share too is action, right? Not saying all these things I share with you are always the case. I'm sure you can find reasons or exceptions that may prove otherwise. And if so, I welcome all your comments. Just place your comment below. We can have a healthy discussion about it. But oftentimes when it comes to taking action, the person who has a employee mindset, they want to make sure they have all available information first before they take action because they don't want to embark upon uncharted territory without being privy to all the obstacles that may be in their way or all the variables that can happen. They don't want to approach that. So before they take action, they rather study and analyze. You probably heard the term analysis paralysis, but they do that all day long till the cows come home, to the point they may be slow to take an action and miss the opportunity. So they just aim to get things right, and then the target moves. But as a real estate investor, what you want to do is you need only 70% available information. So like if a deal came across your table, you want to have a quick and easy, dirty way of analyzing a property in a matter of seconds. You don't believe me? check out the 1% rule, right? Apply the 1% rule if you're doing a buy and hold strategy. And that lets you know that this is the deal you should further investigate and take action on, meaning shooting an offer. So that's the opposite approach. The real estate investor, they'll say, okay, I know the target is in this vicinity. I'll need to pinpoint it to get it exactly correct. I don't need to make sure I have all available information and aim perfectly before I pull the trigger. But it's like a shotgun approach where it sprays, right? But I know the vicinity, bam, I'm gonna shoot my offer and ask questions later. Because I wanna make sure I take action fast and be able to get this property under contract. Then I can ask all my questions that I might have during due diligence after I lock this property down and get it under contract. But when you have that employee mindset that you need all available information, this is what the employee does when they want to get into real estate. They say, okay, well, real estate agent, I'm looking online and I want to know more about the cap rate in this area. I want to know more about the neighborhood. I also like to know more about the tenant base. I also like to know about the gross rent multiplier on this property. Well, it's like, they're really just thinking like, dude, I'm commission only. Like, are you gonna submit an offer or not? Can I get paid or not? Otherwise, you're wasting my time. You're a PTW, a professional time waster. That's all they think. They're commission only. But the real estate investor has a different approach. Oh, okay. I did a quick and dirty analysis. I know the income. I know the expenses. I know I got a good idea what the purchase price is. Do the 1% rule. Okay, I think this is a deal that we can potentially do. I didn't do a full analysis right now. I'm putting the deal analyzer, but hey, agent, I like this property. You know what? I did some quick math. Let's get under contract for this. And let's put this contingency that within 30 days, if I don't like what the due diligence period, if I don't like what the seller provided, I can back out, no harm, no foul. But at least I'm gonna take action today to get this property off the market. All right, my last point is this. The employee mindset focuses on defense. They focus on how can I not lose money? The preservation of capital, right? Maybe I can put my money into a safe investment such as IRA, 401k, in which my employer will match some funds. Let me keep my money in a savings account. Those things are great, right? Because you're getting a return and it may be small, single digits, maybe not even a digit, maybe not even 1%, it might be 0.01%. And the market may fluctuate and so forth, but you might put your money in a safe investment only because you're really not investing to win. You're just investing not to lose, okay? But the real estate investor, on the other hand, they invest their capital to win. They want to maximize their returns. So the real estate investor who wants financial freedom yesterday, that person is not going to invest their hard-earned cash or their partner's cash or whatever capital they got access to into an asset class that yields little to no returns, because they realize they won't be able to live off the fruits of their labor if they're investing in assets that produce minimal returns. Okay, so even though you might have a 9-to-5 and majority of your coworkers and colleagues may invest in these low-bearing return type of assets, you got to stay away from it. In fact, you should have a winner's mindset to say, hey, if I'm going to invest, I'm going to invest in something that's going to produce me a return. I'm going to invest in something that's going to buy my time back. And I'm going to invest in an asset that's actually going to make me passive income, that's actually going to make me financially free. And when you shift your mindset that way, trust me, you will start to buy properties, and you'll be able to buy properties and live the great life. But you cannot if you bring that same mindset from a full-time full-time employee mindset to real estate investing. There has to be a shift. All right, guys. Well, so far you've learned about the transition, right? That needs to take place between these 2 years, right? Between these 2 years, from being a 9-to-5er to a real estate investor. And it's really important for you to take stock in regard to, do you have these mindsets and are you able to make that transition? Now, it's not just about what goes on here. It's also important to know about, okay, well, how can I get to that next step? How can I get to the next level? So what I want you to do is just watch this next video so we share with you how you can get to that next level. So as always, guys, it's to your success. Continue to earn passively, live passionately. Take care. Peace.